Just kidding. Palantir has been in construction for a while, so we're here to debunk the claims that Palantir has just arrived in construction, which has seemed to be doing the rounds numerous times on my LinkedIn feed. So we will dive into that very briefly. We will then talk about what's happening to the global supply chains in relation to the war that's happening in Iran. We're not going to go into the detail of the war in Iran, but I'm going to relate it back to the construction supply chain because I saw a very clever post which someone has been advising to CEOs across the world as it relates to the supply chain of materials. And then we will open up with some other interesting topics. I think, Dustin, you're excited to speak today about Bernie Sanders.
Very much so.
Who is
Very
he?
cool.
Who is the guy?
He's an idiot.
I guess we will find out soon. And then we will have a few other topics if we're going to dive into. And Patrick isn't here today because apparently he had a meeting that couldn't be moved, whereas I thought this was the meeting that could never be moved. But
Yeah,
never mind.
disappointment.
See, looks like we know where we stand in his estimate in his hierarchy of needs, and wants, and desires.
I feel betrayed.
Okay. Okay, look, so there has been, I don't know, I think you guys, based on our pre-discussion here, you've been seeing a similar thing about Palantir apparently arriving in the construction industry, which is actually fake news. I can share a couple of observations I've seen. Two of them direct and one more of an anecdote from someone else. So I'll go quickly first. Number one being that in 2022 they released a report about how they could break new ground with connected construction. I'll post a link to that report in the show notes here so people can read. I have not dived into the detail of the report, but it's obviously talking about how their product interacts with the construction industry and how they can help and make the construction industry better. That's number one. Number two, when I've done some much further research onto this, I saw that a few of the people who were supposedly involved from a professional perspective, i.e. on their LinkedIn profiles, with the rollout of construction of Palantir's product to the construction industry had actually changed their titles from construction specific related titles as it relates to Palantir to more generic titles. So I don't unfortunately don't have the exact names in front of me. I should have probably got that before this, but they were something like industry lead for construction, and now they're more like industry lead or something. Yeah, not like doesn't relate specifically to construction. So something obviously changed between where is it 2022 and where we are today, and as they were trying to get into the construction industry. And another anecdote that I heard from someone else was that they charge a hell of a lot to to construction industries, and the product and outcome is maybe not on par or as good as some of the other solutions that exist within the industry. I think, Dustin, you look like you're burning to say something on top of that, so I'll let you go next.
So what outcomes do they have? Like, is there a software within that Palantir that provides a certain outcome, or is there no software providing outcome?
Dustin, do you know more about this?
This is SAP and Oracle 2.0, promises of everything under the umbrella delivering unfathomable results. What Palantir does is it becomes a business intelligence layer on top of all your applications, and it will give you the insights across various data sets. So it's not changing the interactions for the end users in the field. They probably release something that extracts quantities from plants, but at the end of the day, they are not a consumer application. They're going to be a tool that's used to, I think it's Jacobs. They now have a project dashboard. What was not capable, or how was that not capable before? I have no idea. It was capable before because I know many constructions that have reporting and forecasting of every single project across their entire organization. And Palantir has been trying to work with construction firms, large construction firms, for a very, very long time. I think that people jump on news articles because, one, they don't know histories of companies and verticals. They don't actually understand what Palantir does. And yeah, Palantir is insanely expensive and a major overhead lift. Now, companies will adopt some Palantir, Just like companies have, switched ERPs from SAP, Oracle, Microsoft. But to say something like Palantir rebuilt an ERP from the ground up, I call bullshit. Um, it's just words. Like, what does it actually do? Are they running payroll through Palantir? I didn't know that they don't talk about payroll through Palantir. They don't talk about administering health plans. Those seems like uh, pretty important things. They're going to be doing labor forecasting. That's what they do because they work with logistics companies. Think about what Palantir does. They go into an airline and stream the pricing and packaging and the optimize the routes because they work with major logistic companies. So they'll do well with EPC contractors in some respects, but they're not ripping and replacing a lot of this software. It's too entrenched.
Mm-hmm. Well put. I think having a quick look here, Palantir goes after construction in job costing and cost control, fleet and equipment management, workforce and resource planning, Dustin, as you mentioned.
Everything.
Workforce and equipment and fleet management, logistics.
Yep. Supply chain visibility, project operations. More targeted toward the enterprise layer.
Yeah, but they're going to sit on top of many projects and say, hey, across this organization, here's what we're seeing, which is many companies have that already. They haven't said any. All right, if they had something acutely specific that they uniquely solve, they would have said it. They didn't. They sent a bunch of generalized stuff, so they have nothing proprietary to Palantir.
So the question is, how does it provide value for the enterprise in general to have a dashboard showing lots of different things?
Martin, that's a question I'd love for someone to come to the show and answer. I would love if anyone could come to the show that uses Palantir in construction and say, hey, this is what it does that no one else in the world could do, or this is what it did more cost effectively. You won't get anyone that will come on the show and do that. No way. Zero chance. I'd love Palantir to come on the show. No one.
Oh, yeah, that would be. Maybe I could find one of the construction people and find out from the horse's mouth exactly what happened. I think, Martin, maybe you were asking more generally, what value does a dashboard provide?
Achieved 161 million in supply chain and inventory cost saving over 3 years through optimized operations.
Yeah, but we love in construction to say we save superintendents 1 bajillion hours. Guess what? We have the same number of superintendents on the job site. We have the same number of project engineers. So,
yeah, this is like the same AI tool that saved 400 million in rework through spotting one word error, right, or contract claim or whatever it was.
Yeah, for me, when there's no specifics, then I really struggle because everyone can say anything, and they might mean
unsubstantiated. What was the trigger for people going crazy about Palantir entering the construction industry? Anyone remember or no?
I mean,
can
I make fun of people? They just hear some news and get all giddy, and they just like to post it because they're like fanboys of Palantir. That's it.
Influencer marketing, maybe.
They own Palantir stock.
Yeah, precisely.
Look, Palantir is a hell of a company.
Well, if you own stock, I think you'd be pretty happy, huh?
Well, if you own stock 4 years
in the last
ago,
5 years, yeah,
and you still own
it. Well, the trigger actually for this was that they released a web page with the URL and in the slug was palantir.com/construction or something like that, like a very targeted page for the construction industry, which then triggered a few people to post about this. But what was funny about the page is when I first saw the page, it went straight to a 404, which and I think mine actually you posted saying it means have they left already or something like that. When we went straight to the 404 page, they realized that this is not an industry worth targeting. Let's go back to defense or
no, but I would really love if someone could, if anyone could write us, tell us what Palantir is doing that you haven't seen.
So here on this very website, there's a few different kind of pages. Let's say deliver at speed and delivered at digital twin for a multi-billion-dollar product portfolio in just days, not months. Developed a 10 million production-ready savings use case for a construction firm in just 2 days. Like, this is something I absolutely can't stand. Like, saying something very generic without, like, anything can be said here. Anything.
Proof is in the pudding, baby. Okay.
Well, I
enough
mean,
on
because
Palantir.
it's like they built it on top of several things that first have no definitions, like digital twin. There's no like hard definition. Like, okay, does that include like all closeout doc, punch list, all associated with the every aspect of the project? Probably not. Does it just the model? like, so you have it's built on top of a bunch of things that have no definitions. So it's.
So what's the future for Palantir construction? Do you think?
I think they'll do better with companies that like the EPC contractors that own the logistics and the supply chain. Mega projects, infrastructure projects, I think all of those have major implications. On commercial construction, due to the nature of how we subcontract a lot of the work in the United States, I think they're a much less desirable, much more expensive solution in the way you can do things. So
you don't need a Palantir for that. It'd be like taking a sledgehammer to crack a nut.
Yeah. And like, let's all remember that Palantir is a horizontal platform that forward deploys engineers for specific solutions. That's their model. That model means that you pay for forward deployed engineers to make the solution work. That's why it's so expensive. But that also means like they're not going to go and build custom solutions for subcontractors. They might get like it's just they might get some of that because they build it for one customer depending on the contract. But
it's to me like McKinsey for construction a little bit. Like
they're going to do okay because Accenture is going to push the shit out of them to every construction company that talks to Accenture, but they're not going to affect the startup ecosystem at all.
Yeah, actually, that was on my head. Like, how, if in any way, can they affect startup ecosystem? What do you guys think? Because all of these, like a time save, all of these features that they present here, delivered speed, gain, blah blah. There's probably startups which are tackling the same niche, well, the same space, and this is just one of the bullet points on Palantir's presentation that they also kind of do it, like reducing.
I would be more worried about them if I was doing supply chain or logistics.
Why?
Because that's what Palantir can do particularly well.
Supply chain and logistics.
I suppose they just become another tool, like an option for people to choose from who are considering a tool to give them a system to give them dashboards based on data. I don't think that they've got the same weight as where we had the discussion a while ago about a company like Microsoft, whereby when they flick a switch, everyone kind of has to use their product because everyone's already using Microsoft, but not everyone is already using Palantir, so they don't hold that same weight. And I doubt that people are going to switch from someone like startup
SAP,
or even Microsoft to
Oracle.
Palantir.
Like they said, they rebuild an ERP. Oh, so you're suggesting that someone rips out Viewpoint, SAP, Oracle, Workday, whatever? I don't see why.
Yeah. So conclusion of this is Palantir is not new to the construction industry, and we are skeptical that we will see them come in with any major disruption to the market that already exists.
It's not new. They've been targeting construction companies for a long time. They offered on their website a new page, and they said they extract. They do automated takeoff. So does 50 other startup companies.
Yeah, no, not another one. Fucking hell.
Yeah, we add another one to the bucket.
Hey, before we go to the Bernie Sanders stuff, I just want to relate this because it's a very hot topic at the moment, obviously, with the war happening in Iran and the US doing what they're doing over there. I saw an interesting post because as we try and relate this to the business context, obviously we've been seeing this major implication of the Strait of Hormuz being closed and how that disrupts global supply chains because ships are no longer able to travel through that part of the world, which can increase material delivery times, increases the price of oil, etc. And when scrolling LinkedIn this morning, there's a person who on LinkedIn who I would highly encourage anyone to follow. His name is Noble Francis, and he puts out these really insightful posts. He sits on boards of major construction companies in the UK, and sorry, I don't know if he sits on boards, but he advises boards on and CEOs across the UK construction industry. And he put out a post of how he advises people to deal with these seismic events that happen across the world with very little notice, and how companies can hedge their bets when it comes to supply chain within the industry. So Noble, for people who don't know, he's an economics director at the Construction Products Association, and the Construction Products Association is a leading. I took this straight from LinkedIn, so maybe people don't understand it. You have to process it, but it's the leading organization that represents and champions construction product manufacturers and suppliers. Okay. And what he said is, what I have been stressing to the CEOs and boards of major companies in the construction supply chain in recent years is that this isn't the political, economic, and social stability of 10 years ago, where you could focus on cost minimization and sourcing from the cheapest place. There have been major disruptions every year for the last 6 years: global pandemics, national lockdowns, supply chain problems, haulage availability, Russia invading Ukraine, energy and commodity price spikes in 2022, Red Sea disruptions, US tariff disruptions, etc. And there will continue to be major disruptions every year, but firms won't be able to predict what the disruptions will be. So you need to fully understand your supply chain, where everything comes from, fix supplier contracts for the medium term where possible, and diversify risk in sourcing, even if it is more expensive. Security of supply will almost be as important as the cost of supply in the medium term.
Yeah, I got two thoughts here. One is that no one or very little people will do anything on it until something really major happens. So then they have to, and then everyone has to, and then there is an issue. Everything goes up in prices.
Well, actually, if you're a switched on business leader, like to the general person, maybe smaller.
No. But if you switched on business leader, and if you are searching for more expensive prices when there's no need for it at that point right now, then you are outpricing yourself on the market.
Wait, searching for more expensive?
Yes, because alternatives would be, from definition, they would be more expensive, right? Why you not looking at other supply chain ideas? Yeah, because they are more expensive, most likely, and or take longer.
So what you're saying is, why would you diversify your sourcing?
I mean, there will be very little people who do it. 90-something% of people will do it only when it's absolutely necessary, because they are in the pricing war with everyone else, and they are racing to the bottom with prices. Yeah?
Well, I think where the conversations need to be had is at the project stakeholder level. And that happens early in pre-construction, so plug for Edify. But you need to have those cost conversations about what do you want to optimize for? Certainty of completion, or just how much the project's going to cost? Because if you can go through pre-con and identify risks for large pieces of equipment or long lead items, then you can say, hey, are we going to lock this in? So you need to make design decisions early in pre-construction, and you need to have the cost data at your hands to identify these risks and have these conversations with the client. And as far as I'm concerned, like Edify is the only really good solution for that.
That's fair, but you may lock some pricing with some people on the other side of the globe for some goods, but in the case shit happens, you won't get this in this price. Yeah.
Well, usually when you lock in a contract with the supplier, they're holding that inventory for you. Yeah, you're reserving it. That's the backlog, is that they've reserved these production units. So they're going out and building it, and then they're already spoken for.
The problem then arises when, for example, the Strait of Hormuz closes.
Yeah.
And then suddenly they ring you up and like, hey, we're not going to be able to get your materials to you for another 6 weeks. Oh, and by the way, the damages for completing your project late for every week is like, however, I don't know what it could be in the US, but like say 100K, 250K, whatever, a week. and suddenly you're like, right, well, we need to find a new supplier. Then what do? And that
Well, I
the
mean,
supplier you had,
I hope force majeure applies there, but add in, I don't know, Middle East war in your contracts and say, this will-
then it becomes a litigation, right? Then it's like, is it really force majeure? Is it, something that you should have been aware of? Blah, blah, blah.
Dustin, by the way, what's the size of projects that over there in the US you guys consider as large projects? Like, is it 10 million, $100 million?
Well, I mean, there's no definition.
Yeah.
I mean, truthfully, if a project's over 100 million, it's a pretty big project. But I think most people think of them as over $1 billion.
Oh, okay. So
although anything from 100 to a billion is still a very large project. It has a lot of people on the site. But
there was no follow up on this. No, there's no follow up. I'm just thinking about something. I might come back to it in a second.
Are you relating this to what we're discussing?
Yes.
Yeah, right. And I was going to say, well, then be quiet. Okay, maybe with that, maybe we're done on the supply chain discussion. Do you want to go to your topic, man?
Well, I'm just curious in my thinking, what's the construction volume throughout the globe for large project, let's call it 100 million plus, versus construction volume of small projects, be from, let's say, 0 to 10 million, and there is also 10 million to 100 million, and how the supply chains are managed for those small jobs, small projects, and for those large projects, and then in case of an issue globally, how these can be managed and future-proof. Because, like in my example, in a case when I was saying that probably 95% of projects that I work on, which is on the smaller side, no one thinks about locking in some other suppliers for wood, timber, whatever that is. They just want the cheapest shit that is available on the market and complies with whatever they need to comply with, right? So, like you said, Dustin, your example, when people talk to the client early on and they ask them what they want to optimize for, that's a different game. Yeah. So, that's something something interesting, and how this can be impacted.
Yeah, and ultimately, there's only so much you can protect against. Yeah, like you can't like foresee every single scenario and try and protect against or hedge against that. Like at some point, that's just a risk, and the risk is inherent, and you have to somehow. There's multiple ways dealing with risk, but yeah.
From my experience looking at just project data from back in the Building Connected days, and just anecdotally, the number of projects, like actual number, there is probably 10x small projects to every one large project over 100 million. There might be 20x. But if you looked at in terms of revenue, it's probably large projects over 100 million or even above 50 million probably represents 2/3 of all the spend. It could be larger than that because data centers is even skewing it higher.
Yeah.
So in terms of spend, large projects, and in terms of numbers, it's smaller projects. It happen all the time.
Yeah, that would be typical representation of the construction industry, right? Generally speaking, like in terms of projects and size of companies and that kind of thing. Martin, what were you going to say?
Yeah, so I've got something, obviously, I don't know how accurate that is, but that's from Gemini that I just got. Large projects over 100 million, market share is 25 to 35% of total value of construction. Small projects below 10 million, 40 to 50% of total value, and the missing middle, 10 to 100 million, 20 to 30% of the total value. So looking at the lower range.
Is that inclusive of residential?
Yes, for sure.
Oh, so
US, that's global one?
That's globally.
Oh.
Okay. So Dustin, why has Bernie? Sorry, Martin, you was going to say
no, go on.
Why has Bernie Sanders pissed you off this week? By the way, I haven't heard from this person for a long, long time. So when you brought this up, it was what's going on?
So my state, in its infinite wisdom, is proposing a 5% wealth tax on all billionaires. And Bernie to never
what's a wealth tax? Sorry.
So anyone whose net worth is over $1 billion has to pay a one-time, in California it's proposed, a one-time wealth tax of 5% of their total net worth, whether they have the cash or not. So they have to liquidate things. Bernie Sanders, to never be outdone in stupidity and always wants to be the most liberal person in the world, has now proposed that at a national level.
In the UK.
It is. I would not bet against Bernie. Bernie is straight up a socialist. Has proposed. I don't think it's going to pass, but I think, I posted on LinkedIn like the problems with this, and people are like, it's never going to pass. And I think that's actually a problem, is we discount crazy ideas until they become actually part of society.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think we need to have a culture change, and we need to be protesting politicians who propose absolute ludicrousy. The idea that you would start having people liquidate illiquid assets or semi-liquid assets. So real estate, illiquid, stock market, semi-liquid. But when we're talking about a liquidation of 5%, take people like Larry Ellison or Jeff Bezos or Tesla that own the majority of their wealth in large publicly traded companies. We don't know what a liquidation event of that magnitude would do. Larry Ellison owns 40% of Oracle. If he was taxed at 5%, he's worth $400 billion, right? So that's $10 billion he has to come up with. So he just floods the market with $10 billion. What does that do to the stock market? Like, then and then he has to sell more because now he has a taxable event.
But that's what this doesn't make sense because like people would know that people who own these companies at that point or certain point they have to sell. So you can prepare your trading strategy, short it, etc. even more, which will be even more devastating to the business because people know it has to happen. This guy or girl has to sell it.
And yes, and then he has to sell more. And this can cause death spirals to stock markets. Then you think of real estate asset holds that now have to liquidate because, like, I was just in Napa for the weekend. I bet you that there is a vineyard in Napa that's owned by a family that might be technically the land's worth $1 billion, but they don't cash flow that much to pay $50 million a year or $50 million right now. And so you have all of these liquidation events. What does this do to the stock market? This could erode 401ks. It could drop the stock market 20, 30%. And when does it recover? We don't know. People lose voting controls over this. So proposing something so radical where there's no way to even financially model what's going to happen is an insane proposal. There is much better ways to effectively tax people's net worth. Like, I do like the idea of, hey, if you have $100 billion in stock and you never sell your stock, but you borrow money against a bank to live your lavish lifestyle, okay, you're effectively getting a liquidation event. So rather, we're saying you need to be taxed on this accessible income that you now have. Something like that seems much more effective to me. But we can't have people vilify and say people aren't paying their fair share. First, before you say something so general, why don't you define what the hell that means? Because all you're doing is creating a very divisive ecosystem in a society that is inherently unstable. You're pitting aspects of the country against each other, and I just really, really despise it. So I think there's things that Trump does, just to be fair, that are completely divisive. I think, though, on a practical matter, Bernie Sanders might be the most dangerous person in the country because he really, really instigates wars against society, and he has no idea what he's talking about.
With all the respect to the wisdom which should be coming with the age, he's just too old, to be honest. 84 years old, senator. Like dropping bullshit like that. That's just like there should be some limit to the age or age restriction to people who have such a powerful position. Like you can't.
Yeah, but hold on a second. Whilst you two are both like obviously clearly against it, what's the reasons for, like, why? Obviously, some people will support this. So why like what's the reasoning for doing? Maybe you're not the right people to ask, but why come up with this?
The reason is this headline: Bernie Sanders billionaire tax would soak about 900 people to fund 3,000 checks for the middle class. That's the
What does
reason.
that do in the scheme of things? We need systematic changes, not one-time, hits.
Yeah.
Like
No,
he's
that's
feeding
subsidies.
the
That's called
public like a
subsidy.
crack addict.
Yeah, that's called subsidy. You can't rely and have based economy based on like a one-off. Yeah.
But here's the funny thing. I play the tape forward and say he does all this mass liquidation events. And do you know who grows the most because of something like this?
Someone else.
No, freaking BlackRock. All of the real estate that gets to get sold, guess who buys it? BlackRock. You're going to have BlackRock manage $30 trillion instead of 15.
That's true. Yeah, someone else. Yeah,
like, Bernie, you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah. The legislation would this is the wealth tax. It would redistribute wealth by providing $3,000 direct payments in its first year of enactment to every person in a household earning less than $150,000 in annual income.
Okay, what does that do to inflation? Cool. There's no way to financially model this.
Well, the good news for me is that I don't have to care about that one.
Oh, if America does this affects everyone on the globe.
Well, Martin, actually, there was a time where it was going to be Jeremy Corbyn as the UK Prime Minister and Bernie Sanders as the US president. So that would have been very effective on you.
I think honestly, the societies there is a limit to what you can push towards people, I think, and you can see this in the UK. Kind of things are changing very slowly, but people start seeing through things, and there is a limit that you can like throw bullshit at people. So we're not there yet.
Yes. Yeah.
But I don't say this lightly. I do think he's the most dangerous person in society because his ideas would cause an economic crisis greater than the financial crisis.
Not for long.
Yeah. Okay. Shall we go into one of my interim topics? Well, we have 7 minutes or so before Toby joins us, and I was just talking to you guys before this about Meta glasses. I think that you both own a pair, right?
I've had mine for like 3 years. Yeah.
Can you just tell me in what situations you do and do not wear them?
I actually don't wear them recently. I've not worn them for a very long time now. They used to be good for sunshine and listening to podcasts or music when I run. But
I just took a picture of us.
Oh, great!
Yeah, at my wedding I was doing that as well, taking photos and everyone's you're wearing these. You're wearing these. Yeah.
Okay, so I have something I have to admit. I wear them at the gym for the sole purpose. Do you guys ever see someone do something absolutely ludicrous at the gym? Me and my high school friends have
all the time.
Me and my high school friends have a group text message. So we send each other like people being stupid photos in society. And you get some amazing ones at the gym.
Really?
Yeah. What is that person
This must be American thing.
No, not at all. Like honestly, some of the exercises just don't exist in the world, and you'll see someone doing them in a gym, and you're like, "What the hell are you doing?"
And some of them look like they hurt.
Yeah, I know, and they're so unaware when they're doing it, and it's totally normal, and everyone's like, "Okay."
One thing I cannot stand is when people set up the tripod and like film themselves. And I'm like 20 meters behind them. And like, why the fuck would you be filming yourself and people behind you? Like, what's wrong with you?
In San Francisco, we have people that do that. And you look at them, you're like expecting to see this like Instagram fitness influencer. And you're like, you're kind of out of shape. And like, who is watching this? What is going on?
What are you doing? Yeah, and they walk around the gym with a big bag of stuff. And then in one hand is their like tripod selfie thing, whatever it is. By the way, it's a shit tripod. It's just a thin stick with some stands at the bottom of it, and with a big bag of something else. And they go on a machine. They spend like 20 minutes on one machine doing something, like a 3 or 4 sets. And then they're spending like 4 or 5 hours at the gym and like, yeah, not even in the greatest shape. And you're wondering, what the fuck do you do with your life? Oh, Instagram fitness influencer, right? Or aspiring.
I love how we're now commentating on gym etiquette.
Yeah, anyway, that wasn't the point of this. So we were talking about when people wear their Meta glasses, because I saw doing a few rounds this week about what's going on when you are wearing your Meta glasses. So here's the headline. The UK regulator has contacted Meta over smart glasses privacy claims. And here's the subheadline. It would contact Meta over what it called concerning reports that human contractors in Kenya have been viewing intimate footage captured by the company's Ray-Ban smart glasses, including recordings of people undressing, using bathrooms, and engaging in sexual activity. So here is the investigatory piece. It says the ICO is the Information Commissioner's Office. The ICO's intervention follows an investigation by Swedish newspapers published in late February, which revealed that data annotators, this is the term, at Summer, it is a Nairobi-based outsourcing firm contracted by Meta, routinely review highly personal video and audio recordings to train the company's AI systems. This is a quote from one of the workers. In some videos, you can see someone going to the toilet or getting undressed. I don't think they know, because if they knew, they wouldn't be recording. Another worker offered a blunter summary. We see everything from living rooms to naked bodies. The footage is collected when users press a physical button on the glasses or activate the Hey Meta voice assistant. Whilst Meta's privacy policy notes that manual human reviews of AI interactions may occur, workers said automatic anonymization tools designed to blur faces frequently fail, particularly in difficult lighting conditions. Users cannot opt out of this processing, according to the investigation.
Oh, so it's not as bad though as I thought. I thought they were doing passive recording. No, that's the user doing active recording.
Yeah, when you record on the app, I think then people can see.
Yeah. Still, I mean,
you probably should be aware. You probably should be aware that someone can see it, because this the data is transferred somewhere. But why these people do something with these videos? What's going on?
Maybe that's the question, right? Like, what do you do straight after you click the Hey Meta button or activate the Hey Meta?
No, sorry. What the engineers?
Hey Meta, watch this.
What the Kenyan engineers are doing with why would they have access to this?
They're labeling the data for AI.
It's training their AI.
Oh,
for identifying different images for the model to learn from.
So you should be able to opt out of this when you install the app, probably.
I know you
can't just solve the problem. Opt out of data labeling and no one can see it.
Yeah, you can't.
I'm sure there's some entertaining videos.
Yeah. Imagine labeling that, a guy having a dump.
That wasn't the entertainment I was referring to.
This is not what I signed up for when you said I was going to be labeling data and as an AI annotator. Yeah. So that was doing the rounds. So I guess the response, a Meta spokesperson told the BBC, when people share content with Meta AI, like other companies, we sometimes use contractors to review this data to improve people's experiences with the glasses, as stated in our privacy policy, adding that this data is first filtered to protect people's privacy. The company has sold more than 7 million pairs of the glasses.
The glasses are actually cool. They're really nice. I like taking calls when I walk, just holding my glasses rather than even earbuds. I mean,
what about the noise cancelling? I remember my version is, I think it's the first one that was there, and the noise cancelling was very bad when during conversations.
No, I have number 2. It's pretty good.
And battery?
The battery is pretty good.
Okay.
I'm very impressed by them. I think if you want a good toy, it's a great toy. They look good. I think they're fashionable. So yeah. I mean, didn't I look fashionable with them on?
You do, yeah.
No. Okay, shall we let Toby in? We have Toby from New Energy. New Energy, $4.3 million Euro seed round. Here you go. Hey, Toby.
Hey, Toby.
Hi, Toby.
Hey guys.
How are you doing today? You're in Berlin?
Munich. Close.
Munich. Okay, sorry. Is that offensive to say to someone who's from Munich, you're in Berlin?
No, I'm not from Munich and I used to live in Berlin, so there's no judging in here. But there is a big debate going on in the startup world, which is the better city to be based in.
What's the answer?
Berlin, no?
I don't know. I worked in a startup scene in Berlin. I enjoyed it a lot when I was a bit younger. There's a bit more partying going on, I guess, after work. And for hard tech and deep tech and hardware topics, I think Munich is a little bit stronger. But the workforce is way more expensive because housing is incredibly expensive in Munich. So pros and cons. Yeah.
Yeah. I've only ever been to Berlin, not to Munich, but I heard Munich is also a very like picturesque, beautiful city. Also mountains nearby, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's quite beautiful. If I go for a run in the morning and there's very clear air, I can actually see the mountains if I go on a hill. So it's quite beautiful.
Nice. Okay. Thanks for that. Shall we dive into this then? So you guys just raised a 4.3 million euro seed round for heat pump installation in Europe. Toby, tell us a little bit more about the seed round, and then we can dive into some questions. So, in fact, tell us about the round, tell us about the company, what exactly you guys do.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So first of all, this is our second round. So we did raise a pre-seed round before. So a part of the investment is our existing investors doubling down. And then we have two big parties coming to the table. One of them is Ambera, who I think just today announced their 100 million fund. So this is a VC fund backed by a bigger banking group in Germany. So the LPs are a few bigger banks and then a lot of super small regional banks. And for us, that's very interesting because, first of all, financing is always a topic that goes along with construction work. And then secondly, the model that we build is very much focused on being active in regional hubs. So we don't believe in a centralized operation. We believe in local craft operations that happen in individual regions. So we see a lot of potential collaboration with those local banks. And then the second party joining is Enjoy Venture, which is one of the oldest German VC funds. And they have quite some experience in building operationally heavy startups. And yeah, so we're very excited to have these on board and all the other investors doubling down. We also have a few new angels who joined and are excited to attack now with all the new money.
What does the company do?
Yeah, so in the end, we are focused on heat pump installations. So probably not the only ones doing that. We believe that when it comes to decarbonizing houses, especially in Central and Northern Europe, the heat pump is the best technology. I think that's something that physics tells us and is proven to work in many countries, but Germany is definitely lagging behind there. So we are still highly dependent on fossil fuels, which is not the nicest thing for the people that have to pay for increasing gas and oil prices. It's a bit tricky from a geopolitical perspective, and then of course from a sustainability perspective. And the challenge that we have in Germany is that the craftsman world is extremely fragmented, and it's also hyper-regulated. So it's way more complex to install a heat pump in Germany than it is, for example, in the UK or in France. It's also nearly 3 times the price because we have to fulfill a ton of regulations. There's not a single company that can do the installation, but you need one certified company that does one part of the installation, another certified company that does the electrician work, another certified company that does the gardening work. So it's a bit complex. And yeah, what we do at New Energy is we build local installation hubs or companies that are purely focused on everything that needs to happen on the ground. So that's the technical planning. which is an important step when it comes to a heat pump, because you can do a lot of mistakes in the planning and then it doesn't run efficiently. And then, of course, the installation and the service. So that's done by our local hubs, which you can imagine as like a local modern craft company. And then we have our headquarter where the whole startup team is sitting. And our job is to basically enable those guys on the ground, right? So we take away everything that doesn't need to happen on the ground. So that can be marketing, that can be billing, that can be building processes and so on. And we do everything to enable our regional hubs. So that means building the technology that makes their life easier, but also from a cultural perspective, rethinking how hierarchies work in a craftsman company, rethinking how people are incentivized, how we do the hiring, and so on. So it is a little bit comparable to a franchise model. You have a headquarter that enables kind of the local branches, but those branches are 100% new energy. They're not franchises. They're part of the company as a local branch.
So you are consolidating all of the activities associated with heat pump installation and operations. Would that be correct to say?
That would be correct. And we try to find the smartest way to split the work between what can be done by a player startup team in the head office and what needs to be done by an A-player craftsman installation team on the ground, right? And so everybody focuses on what he or she can do best. And by doing that, we're more efficient. And then, of course, there's a technology aspect. So we do not necessarily build complex technology. It's more about optimizing and automating processes. It's a lot about data analytics, right? So learning from every project, especially when it comes to planning, how efficiently does the heat pump run? What can we learn for the next planning? So more a tech-enabled company than a pure tech company, I'd say.
So you're that's kind of what I was hearing, is that you're a tech-enabled service firm. Is there something after heat pumps?
We hear this question a lot. So for the moment, we purely want to focus on heat pump. My co-founder, Julia, and me, we have been in the startup industry for a while. And one thing we learned is that focus really pays off. So there's tons of things you could potentially do. You could go more into smart thermostats. You could go more into smart meters. You could go into solar and so on. But I mean, we're a young company. We're not even 2 years on the market. And we said, okay, let's do one thing extremely well. And we think heat pump is right now the technology that has the highest impact, right? So heating is not a nice to have, like PV on the roof. It's something that's super essential for customers. There's a lot of pressure to switch right now. I think the current oil crisis and probably gas price is also going to increase, and I think undermines that. So we said, for now, let's really crack the heat pump thing. That's the most complex kind of asset from a craftsman perspective to install. And once we have figured that out, we're happy to talk about other assets. But for now, purely focused on heating.
Yeah. So Toby, why would, like, because obviously there's a number of these companies who are playing in this field popping up, like, who will offer the full suite of renewable installations across their home. Like, you can go on the website, whatever, and they can give you a quote remotely. Like, why would you go? Why go to someone like you versus like a all-in-one provider, or even maybe another competitor? Like, what's the edge here for a consumer of the product, i.e., someone having something installed?
Yeah. So generally speaking, we have two types of competitors that we're competing with. The bigger share, at least in Germany, is traditional crafts businesses, right? So around 80% of the heat pumps in Germany get installed by companies that have less than 10 employees. So that's what I meant when I said super fragmented. So most customers would go to like their local installer around the corner. And here we are more attractive because these are normally companies that do everything, right? So gas, oil, heat pumps, they might renovate your bathroom. And we come and say we're purely heat pump focused. We're the experts. We will do a way better planning. We will do a way better installation. We know how the subsidy process works. And then on the other side, we have the other startup players. Depending on how you define that's around 6 to 8% of the market in Germany right now. And what they do, they're way more sales driven than we are and way more centralized than we are, right? So Most of them, they have very strong online marketing. They have a quite aggressive sales team. So a lot of cold calling, kind of getting on the customer's nerves and kind of pressuring the customer to buy the heat pump with, discounts and so on. We don't do that. So our sales team is certified craftsmen. We send someone to your house who actually has installed a heat pump himself before. And that will be the person that plans the heat pump for you. So we kind of, again, beat the competition on the heat pump knowledge. That means also on our customer journey, our funnel looks a little bit different, right? So these other competitors, they would make the funnel relatively big and then have quite low conversion rates, right? So as many customers as possible in the channel
game,
and in the funnel, and that's What we do is we have very high conversion rates. Some of our technicians have up to 60-70% conversion rates. So nearly every customer they visit will actually buy a heat pump from us, but we do way less appointments. So we have a bit of a different strategy, and we believe more in quality. And also pricing wise, I think we are in the midfield. So we are not the cheapest. We are not the most expensive. But most of our customers are those to whom quality is more important than getting the lowest price, right? And what they want is a reliable person that comes to your house that is actually a certified installer, right? And helps you decide what heat pump do I need. Especially in Germany, where it's relatively complex and where electricity prices are extremely high, right? So we have, from all the bigger countries in Europe, we have the highest price for electricity. So making a mistake in planning is way more expensive in Germany than, for example, in Finland, where electricity costs you half. So that planning part is really important. And then lastly, we do that kind of regional focus. So if you buy a heat pump with us, you will not buy it from the headquarter in Munich, but you will buy it, I don't know, from Hamburg South. And the team in Hamburg South is the team that is responsible for you. And they only operate within 1 hour driving radius. So you as a customer, you buy from a modern company, but you still have a local company that is responsible for you and that will be there for you for the next 20 years.
What I think you also have to say in the subject is that I think in Europe, by 2030, after 2030 in the EU, you won't be able to install any gas or coal sources of heating. And I think my Polish friends recently were complaining to me that after 2040, you won't be able to replace your old one with the new gas or coal. So the tailwind for you guys for heat pumps is absolutely ridiculous, I'll have to say. Yeah. Because it has to happen. So people will have to switch into this. On having this in mind, my question on the heat pump side and technology itself is, this year, for example, the winter in Europe, at least in Poland, was very, very harsh. So from middle of December till end of February, there was -5, -10, -15. And I know people over there who have these, some of them have recently built houses and they have heat pumps and they literally didn't work because it was too cold for them to generate any electricity. What is the response to that in the case of very low temperatures like that?
So my response would first of all be all the heat pumps that New Energy installed worked throughout that cold winter, and it would undermine again what I said before, how important the planning is, right? So what we do in our planning process, we look into a lot of different scenarios. So we look at we take assumption what potential outside temperatures would be. What you can also do is on top of a heat pump install kind of I don't know the English word. It's like the electric additional heating, right? So a bit like the thing you have to boil water. That's something you can install and say to the customer, look, you won't need it, but maybe on those 20 coldest days in the year, you can add some additional electricity heating. So there's lots of options you can go through, but you need someone who really knows the technology well and who can really go through those different scenarios with you as a customer. There's also things like, how often do you shower? Do you want your rooms on 20 degrees or 23 degrees? Are you planning to have a family soon and suddenly there's 2 more rooms that need to get heated, right? So that's all part of a really good planning. But if you do that well, you have a setting that works. So the technology has incredibly advanced throughout the last 5 years. I mean, there was the stereotype that you can only use heat pumps when you have floor heating, and it doesn't work with radiators, and it doesn't work in houses that aren't insulated. That's all over, right? The technology is extremely strong. You just need to pick the right heat pump. And of course, a heat pump that has a bit more power might be a little bit more expensive. But if you have the right system, I mean, we had days in Hamburg, which normally doesn't get as cold as Munich, that they had like way below minus 10 degrees, and all our systems were running, and there was no problems. So from a technology perspective, it is doable, but you need to do the right planning. And the planning is tricky, right? Because you can also buy a heat pump that's too big. And what happens in that case is that the heat pump goes on and off and on and off and on and off too often, and then it will break after 8 years, right? So that's also something you want to avoid. So you need to find a fine balance between big enough but not too big, right components there, the how much liters of water you want to store in between the heat pump and your system. Is it going to be 50 or is it going to be 300? So there's tons of options. But the good news is, technology-wise, it's doable, and you need someone who can do the good planning. And then, of course, what we try to do is, from every planning we do and every heat pump we install, we save the data set. We can monitor all our heat pumps remotely. So over the time, we're kind of assessing, okay, how good was our planning? What can we learn for the next customer? So there's a bit of a data science aspect behind it as well to learn from it.
Very cool. Okay, Toby. Well, thanks for sharing. Interesting business model, much more like customer centric, I think, than what we're used to seeing. So excited to see how that goes for you. And yeah, thanks for coming on, and good luck, man.
Good luck. I like it.
Toby.
Thank you, guys. Have a nice evening.
And you, take care.
We need more tech-enabled service companies, like GCs or construction companies. I hope they trend more towards technology-enabled, but I think that there will be a lot of businesses started that would consider themselves tech-enabled in the near future.
You mean like people that are like still providing traditional service-based companies, but
it's like structural engineers using AutoCAD and Revit and all of that.
Yeah, not like someone using Excel or something like that. No. Yeah, I think it's hard. I think it's hard for those smaller businesses because they just like, it's usually like he was saying, two man bands, as we call them over here in the UK. Very, very small companies where like the business owner is doing everything, and so they just don't have the chance to like focus on technology whilst also trying to deliver to the customer, also worrying about the accounts, or also worrying about everything else you worry about as a business owner. So it would be great if there was like one piece of technology just solved all their problems.
That would be like a business model as a service being sold to someone. But I think
that's kind of like, yeah, like maybe this is what they're trying to create, yeah, that new energy, something like that. I also like really liked his point about like the actual installers doing the sales process, because having recently just done a like pretty decent renovation on our house, there was a few scenarios where I was actually sold to by the person doing the work, and it's much more believable. It's a much more you feel much more secure as the purchaser of this service or product or whatever it is, when the person who is selling it to you is the expert and is the one who has done it, has got the backgrounds, got the scars, knows what they're talking about, versus like a college student or whatever the other salesperson might be telling you that you need this. You're just like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, because I had the exact opposite experience, because I put solar on my mom's house, and you're talking to the solar guy, and he was more like a broker, right? He's like not the installer, and like, what's the process going to look like? And opposite experience.
I'm a bit skeptical, not about his business at all, but on the way the regulations are going, that you cannot use, like after 2030, you cannot design and build a house which is heated by coal or heated by gas, like that. That's really like drives me nuts. And we're going in Europe, we're going in a very, very bad direction, I think.
Too much regulation on that respect.
Yes, and that's why I said that this business is like his will be flying, absolutely flying, because of that next few years.
Yeah, the money always talks though, and like, and when it comes to heat pumps specifically, even with government grants that they were offering here in the UK, it was still roughly £10,000 on an average size project, say, or average size house in London. It's still roughly £10,000 more to have a heat pump installed versus a traditional boiler. And let's face it, for a lot of people, that's a lot of money to stomach, like as a capital outlay. So, yeah, due consideration. I mean, the cost will eventually go down, but long way to go.
Well, also, it's important to ask the question where most of the heat pumps are being produced.
China is my guess.
Yeah, because if we were saying that, okay, we cannot use any more, let's say Chinese or whatever,
produced by China
boilers.
using coal.
Yeah, you only have to use like European-made heat pumps. Yeah, that part of it makes sense. But
I think that's
China
coming.
manufactures 95% of heat pumps.
Crazy.
Yeah, it goes, according to ChatGPT, Japan is the largest, and then a company in China, then the third is a carrier in the US.
Sorry, China 40% of all finished heat pumps. 95 is like compressors for heat pumps that they produce. So still, we will be just funding someone else's factories and.
Okay, last two topics that we'll rattle through very quickly, guys, on today will be, we've recently talked about, I think probably 4 or 5 months ago, about Turner's forecasts for their revenue for the year and how they were going to grow significantly. They have now released those figures. And yes, the predictions, I don't think we predicted this. It's probably come from another article, but the figures were correct back then. And it looks like their revenue for 2025, $29.2 billion, which one is significant, but two is a 40% increase from 2024, which puts them still as the largest contractor in the US by revenue. They have a project backlog of $44.3 billion. And data center projects now account for approximately 37% of the total backlog. The major projects include $10 billion Meta data center campus in Indiana, $6 billion CoreWave data center in Pennsylvania, and they've also done a number of large NFL stadiums: Buffalo Bills, Tennessee Titans, Cleveland Browns. And in addition to that, they have had some new business divisions launched. You would have seen XPL Offsite, which is an offsite manufacturing company, and First Equipment, an equipment rental and site services firm.
And they finally can afford CVC for recently.
Anyone seen any deals?
I've not seen, but they have now CVC, right?
I'm still waiting for a response from the PR team to speak to us about that.
Yeah. I think
that was about a year ago, by the way.
Any business, I think, at this level, if they can grow 40% and they can manage this growth and not to make some like many fuck ups, I think you should show respect.
It's amazing.
Yeah, very impressive. Last one then, Autodesk's Q4 fiscal reports.
It was actually a great earnings report.
Yeah, so 2026 reports shows.
Yeah, revenue's up 19.4%, almost $2 billion. Net income up, not a lot, but revenue's growing. Autodesk is doing fine. It's part of the, but they just kind of hover between 250 and 300. They just.
What stock price is it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Interestingly, the AECO has grown 22% growth for the full fiscal year last year. Architecture, engineering, construction, operation, which is growing faster than the manufacturing arm. And apparently, CEO Andrew Anagost is talking up building agentic AI for the real world.
Here we go.
Another one. If in doubt, just put it in there. If you got nothing else to say.
No, but
I know some things and I'm not going to say them, but it's fine.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll refrain.
That'll be one for the after hours. And
so what's
that,
the number?
my friend,
What's the number of for the revenue for 25? What was it?
For the last quarter, it was 1.96 billion.
Yeah. For the full year, 7.21.
Okay.
Yeah. That's all, my friends, we have for this week. So let's hope between now and next week. What should we hope for?
What should we hope for? Good weather, I hope.
We've been having great weather here in London.
Last one day. Yeah. I don't know, acquisitions, some AI acquisitions, let's hope for.
Yeah. Exciting news.
Some
buy. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you very much. And we will see you all next week.